and tall people. Anyway, we're on, and I'm visioning, see the quality of this apparatus. In my opinion, in today's standards, is subpar. So today I would like everyone to vision an 80 to 100-inch television stuck on the wall with perfect clarity. So we'll do that. And I also want to tell you, this has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing today, but in my own prayer and manifestation, I have had success in the last month, maybe greater than anything that I've had in my whole 10 years of trying this or whatever, or attempting. I mean, it's working. You know, it's the best thing that I can kind of say. But I do it like a typical human. You do it for a while, it seems to be working, so what do? Stop doing it. And then it goes away and you got to rebuild it again. So anyway, I would like to say this, what we're about to do. And before I move on, meditation, especially what we just did, I don't guess it's going to make you too.
No.
No? Anyway, so just in case, since you're watching, Jenny just did a very intense meditation. And I'm from the recovery angle of things, okay? And part of that program is about prayer and meditation. It's part of it. You see what I'm saying? So over the years, there's been some numerous speakers and authors and all of that that have talked about meditation from a recovery standpoint. And this is something, I was with my old AA sponsor. He's been dead for a few years now. We were at a conference, and there was a guy named Gorski, okay? And Gorski was, at the time, was the guru, writing all the books. He was writing all the books, and he was very well respected in professional treatment facilities and all of that. And so we got a whole couple hundred counselors. And we were doing, it was for CE credits. And they come in, and the first thing he does, he walks up to the stage and he gets on the mic and he says, beware of your clients that meditate. And here's like, all of us are teaching meditation, and people are looking back at one another. What do you mean, beware of? A little silence. He came up and he says, beware of your clients that meditate. And some guy in the third row, hey, what do you mean? We're all teaching. It's the 11th step of what we're going through. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is that he looked up and he says, if your clients meditate, at some point, they're not going to need you anymore. And of course, the laughter erupted upon the whole auditorium with all of the people in there. But it is a powerful tool. And we offer it right here. Give Jenny a little plug on Wednesday nights and at every service on Sundays. And it's it's one of the most cleansing things that I can go. Anyway, let's get into, first of all, what I'm dealing with right now is what we are teaching here on Thursday nights. We have a little progression, okay? And forgiveness is part of recovery program too. That I'm going to tell you that some of the things that I'm getting at are some of the things that we're going to talk about today are part of some of, I guess you could say, my own experience working with others. Hundreds of people over 20 years or so. And if you look on there really close, it says there, forgiveness at the top. Everything you never wanted to know. Okay? Because most people think, most of my beginnings were with, I was brought up Catholic, and I talked about this Thursday. When I was, when we were in school in our little khaki uniforms, right, during Lent and Advent, you went to confession once a week. It was like 4-week periods and that sort of thing. See, so here we go, he's 7 years old, and you're standing in line with all of your classmates, and it's like you're going to confession. And the guys, I'm going to use a name. There's no real name here as far as who this actually happened to. But remember, the whole thing here is to be forgiven. Okay, we're going to go sit in that little box, and the priest is going to open the little thing. And so anyway, in front of me was my best friend Eddie, and Eddie's in front of me, and he goes in, right? And about a minute or two later, the priest comes out, grabs Eddie by his ear, drags him to the office, and we never saw Eddie again. That's a true story. Like I said, his name's not really Eddie, but my point is that Eddie was 7. What was happening in his world, a 7-year-old is not responsible. There's just no way. And we can imagine what might have happened, but he was expelled from school. It was just terrible. And so it gave me this idea of when, the next week and the following years, standing in line, now I'm watching what I'm going to say. Now I'm watching what this introspection is going, where is it going to lead me? And am I going to get pulled out by the ear like Eddie did? And I didn't, such a devastating thing that happened. And later, Eddie's still my friend and all of that. He lives on the North Shore. And I'll tell you his real name. But I guess what I'm really getting at is that most people that I deal with regarding doing some of this upheavals and introspection, most of it, people are hanging on to it, or they're trying to hide because they're embarrassed. Most people in recovery are bound by shame and guilt. It's just the way it is, So in other words, you got to break through all that to get to. So just kind of coming in, just forgive them, And if you see people and they're a neophyte to this type of spiritual growth, right? And they're new at it, and they come up in about 2 weeks, they say, "Oh, I forgive him." Yeah, okay. And I'm going to say this about myself, that I have in my mind forgiveness. I know that it is what is going to enhance my spiritual growth. But I have this inner child that's holding on like daddy's leg in the morning. No! That's what I'm getting at. And so to just come up and say, "Oh yeah, well, let me tell you, we can use a lot of examples, but sometimes some of this forgiveness takes persistence. And to just sit there and automatically feel like you got it, good luck." So we're going to start right at the beginning. Webster's dictionary, forgive, to cease to feel resentment against others, offender, okay, to pardon, to give up or claim. And then you can see it's just being basic here, just definitions. Forgiveness of debt, right? And a lot of the Bible verses are about forgiving a debt, like money. You see what I'm saying? And then there's the other side of it of forgiving some sort of wrong done. Okay, so those can be a little bit. It's going to change the dynamics just a little bit, depending on which one it is. But it's still going to be the same road or dynamic that's happening. So go through the Bible and the Quran, and there's numerous verses on forgiveness, okay? But the biggest one, the most popular, I guess, is the one where Peter asks Jesus, should I forgive the transgressor, I'm using my own words here, should I forgive them 7 times? And Jesus said 70 times 7. So there's people that get into the significance of what that adds up to be, but that's not the point. The point is that he's leading to some sort of spiritual axiom that is that if you live in the world, the spirit of forgiveness, your own life is going to be so much better, And the thing that one of the things that there's a study on some of the people who have lost loved ones to crime, and you know how the judges will allow you to talk to your perpetrator after they've been convicted and sentenced, and you can tell them, yeah, you took, it's terrible stuff. They always say that the ones that forgive have a better life. They didn't say anything. So the ones that they studied. Now I've heard it. You can go on to YouTube and watch it. I will never forgive. You're not going to understand the feelings. And I know some situations of people that I've dealt with regarding recovery that later the people have come around and come to a point of forgiveness. But the point is that it's the secret, not of what happened. And they'll never bring people back, or they'll never right wrongs when they're permanent like that, or seemingly permanent, should I say. But they will get to a point to where their life is better. And that's what we're talking about today. And then, of course, in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We all know the prayer, right? So that's what they're saying. Hey, but the other thing is, and this is where I'm going back to the church or whatever, when I was a kid, when they teaching this, it was like it was a command. You're going to listen to this, and that's it. And they're in your face with the finger and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like what they didn't teach me what I didn't learn until later was forgiveness is for me. It lets me off the hook. Like, wow. It gives me, and this is where my lesson ends when we get there, it gives me the opportunity to enhance my spiritual walk. In other words, if I'm holding on to all of this, I'm going to be real limited. It's as simple as that. All right, so I'm going to go through these kind of fast. Some of this is part of my Thursday thing. So know what it is and why it matters. So we'll just roll through this real quick. Forgiveness is about the goodness and the extended mercy of those who have harmed us, even if they don't deserve it. We know that one, right? It's not about finding excuses for the offending person's behavior or pretending it didn't happen. Nor is there a quick formula you can follow. Forgiveness is a process with many steps that often proceeds in non-linear fashion. In other words, there's no real limits in as far as the forgiveness and what's happening spiritually and why. And remember, sometimes you may be growing spiritually and not even know it. And this is one of the exercises that allows that. Sometimes, especially in my arena, we will notice the growth in people that are coming along and practicing higher spiritual values, and they won't see it themselves. You almost have to tell them, hey, look, you're doing good. Or you are so much further along than when you first started, and they just don't see it. So anyway, let's go to the next one here. Working on forgiveness can help increase our self-esteem, give us a sense of inner strength and safety. It can reverse the lies that we often tell ourselves when someone has hurt us deeply. Lies like, I am defeated or I'm not worthy. Forgiveness can heal us and allow us to move on with life, with meaning, with purpose. Forgiveness matters, and we will be the primary beneficiary, which we already said that. It matters, okay? Now, and I always talk about this, and I'll say this so it sounds so much nicer. In my family, most of them are dead now that practice this, but we have a fine family of grudge holders, okay? We will hate you forever. And this is something and over dumb things. One little event, in 25 years, and they still, at the party, and it's like, whoa. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, and they deserve it. And they don't have what we have here, an idea that if I continue to do this to myself, not only am I going to hasten my growth, but I'm going to be living on a very low vibration. And we know how important that is. Around here, that's everything. It's the unity thing. And it is so important that sometimes it gets overlooked. All right, studies have shown that forgiving others produces strong psychological effects for the one who forgives. That'd be me. It has been known to decrease depression, anxiety, unhealthy anger, symptoms of PTSD. But we don't just forgive to help ourselves. Forgiveness can lead to psychological healing, yes, but it is the essence. It's not something that's done just for you. It is something that you extend towards the other person because you recognize over time that it is the best response for these situations. Remember this. Paul was hitting on it a couple of weeks ago, and that is our higher vibration, just like a smile, is contagious. And we can come and we can pray and we can be part of something and then raise our vibration and have a collective consciousness that moves out into everything. Now we're getting somewhere. Huh? You see what I'm getting at? Like, whoa, okay. So we're at a point to where we're starting to realize that it's just not about letting go. We're not about some kind of faction going, okay, I forgive you, I don't want to, you know. And I got a guy on Thursday nights coming and sits right here. And he's going to tell you every week, I can't forgive them because they rotten, because they this, what they did marred my life. And it's like, it's not about you. It's not about you. Except in the fact that it is a life enhancer, spiritual growth. But you can't get them past that. And if they're stuck there, and we're going to talk about that, let me get through these first slides here. Anyway, see what the 80 to 100 inch TV would do. It would make all of that so much nicer. Mm-hmm. There are so many forms of emotional pain, but common forms are anxiety, depression, unhealthy anger, lack of trust, remember that one, self-loathing, low self-esteem, and an overall negative worldview. Remember that one. You want to do a little overall worldview? Go home tonight and turn on the news, right? Lack of confidence in one's ability to change. All of these harms can be addressed by forgiveness. It is also important to identify the pain that you are suffering from and acknowledge it. You have to admit. You see what I'm saying? And then the more hurt you have incurred, the more important it is to forgive, at least for the purpose of experiencing emotional healing. That first slide says you first must understand what it is and what it's doing. Most people don't understand that it is going to lead you to this emotional healing. Remember, I talked about that inner child in there? And sometimes it can be very happy and upbeat, and other times it can be just totally degrading. And I guess like a real child, very immature about everything. And handling things like a 7-year-old. And I would very much like to not do that anymore. But I have to acknowledge that this child, if you want to call it that, within themselves, your inner self, is there. And it's important. As much as some of you guys at home might want to argue with that point, something I get into in recovery circles, it exists. This entity within me that is like the child self or whatever. So, all right. Remember that if you're struggling with forgiveness, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. Forgiveness is a process that takes time, patience, and determination, especially that last one. Try not to be harsh on yourself, and gentle, and foster a sense of quiet within, an inner acceptance of yourself. Now you're getting somewhere. That's what kind of the same thing that Jenny was talking about in the meditation. Try to respond to yourself as you would someone whom you love deeply, okay? Surround yourself with good and wise people who support you and have patience and allow you to heal in your own way, okay? That's a big one in the world of codependency. We want to give it to them our way and the only way. That's something that I deal with all the time in recovery circles, and it's like, I have learned that everyone has a different path. And the chemistry of it all is something that's very, very important to understand. And the biggest one that I just said, the patience, source, God, higher power, whatever, they sit and they encourage, especially from an angelic, in my own belief, they encourage and they encourage and they encourage. And we accept it from enemy throat. And we become a little bit more short and we do this and we pass judgment again and bring something else in our life we got to forgive for. And all of that gets to the point to where that's that inner child or the ego leading the way, So, Spirit has always been patient with us. Why do we necessarily need to be impatient with others when when we are the ones mentoring or we are the ones with the example. So anyway, and I also have that thing at the bottom, Crossroads Gang. What I'm trying to tell you is that I'm trying to encourage to come to Thursday nights or to let the guys that are actually here, okay, hang with us. We got a lot of people that have a lot of experience. If you are newer and you just hang with some of these guys, you don't have to deal with me, just anybody. Most of them in there will probably have something already, especially if they've been around for a while. So anyway, this is where I'm at right now. This is the one. I invented this, by the way. Now, I didn't really just invent this, okay? But this is something that I started noticing people. Let's just talk about recovery circles. People will come and work these, what we call the steps, okay? And there's 12 steps in recovery. And they will do the 12 steps in their first year, okay? Now, if anybody knows that thing that I was talking about being patient, they will work them and they will take a look at themselves, do a introspection, maybe heal or maybe not heal, but just move on and say, well, I did it. And the truth is that it's farthest from the truth. And I started seeing people with many, many years that have been around, and they're not very well. Just not. All right? No offense, but the truth is that they didn't complete the job. They still have gaping. And a lot of times they'll be fighting amongst themselves, and it's like, wait a minute, you can't be a spiritual giant and be acting like I guess you could say just a pack of animals. It's my own words. In other words, you miss something. So I started seeing that this is only the beginning, the opening of the door when people would do some of this stuff. So I started finding people that were really stuck. And I still say this, when I started finding my niche, this is I don't know, it began early 2000s or whatever. One of the things that we do is we deal with new people, okay? When they come in, the first thing you're going to do is try and get them to start and encounter a lifestyle that's going to be, I guess, conducive to sober living, sober thinking, and this is fun. Functional relationships, which is big because most people never get there as far as that's concerned, even whatever situation you're in. So I found this niche where I started finding people that were 7 and 10 and 15 years along that were stuck. And so I started working with those guys. That was what I was supposed to do. So I started putting together some different things, and I used some other professional methods, and I started doing it. So it's real easy, okay? There's 4 little entities. One of them is forgiveness to others. Who do I need to forgive? The second box is forgiveness from others. And remember, the forgiveness from others, you got to be careful with that one, because as a codependent, we would like to come in and have everybody forgive us, And so we may do or say things to manipulate them into forgiving us, not quite about the real part of the step. So we're going to do something. I see this one on Facebook all the time when people say, you don't necessarily have to be wrong to apologize. If you can, you don't have to be right, or maybe, and it's like, if you value the relationship is what they're trying to get at. So you apologize for something that you did wrong, but you really didn't do anything wrong. It's like, and I want to stand up and scream. It's like, that's codependency. That's not real. If you did not, and what I'm telling you is volumes and all sorts of different authors that are saying, oh yeah, just go ahead and do it. It's not true. So you're along something, you were doing what I'm saying. You're trying to reel somebody in and have them accept you because of your acceptance issues, not because of forgiveness. So that's a big one we talk. And then the third one, this is the one, and remember I was doing this for better than 10 years, this same program in a Christian environment, in church is what I'm saying, and a regular traditional kind of non-denominational church. And one of the things that we would say forgiveness to God and forgiveness one from God, okay? And it's like the church people would all say, what do you mean forgiveness to God? God's perfect, you know? And it's like, well, perhaps they're not seeing it that way, okay? But more importantly, like it says in some of the AA literature, we ask for, um, excuse me, we asked for healing, right? It didn't happen. We asked for children, and we were presented with sick ones, or none at all, right? And then some of the other things that they talk about, we asked for, not, it just escaped my mind. Sorry about that. But in other words, what they're saying is that we had all of these Santa Claus type of requests, and it didn't happen. So it's God's fault, right? Somebody dies early. It's always God's fault. How could it be? And then there's always that question of starving people and so terrible, and then they got the people that have guns, and they would go down all the different lists of all the terrible things that can happen and how you can explain that. Well, perhaps if something like that happened to you, right? Something like that actually happened to you. That is holding a place of non-forgiveness. I don't care how you think about it or how you classify it. If we're going to have this higher spiritual journey, we have to deal with that. And we got to call it something. See what I'm saying? So if you don't, and you just hold on to it, God doesn't love me or whatever, it's such a terrible God. If you hold on to that, right, then you're going to just dampen your spiritual practice. It's as simple as that. You're not really going to be able to, I guess, get to that higher level of vibration because you're just going to be stuck. As soon as somebody brings in a higher power of something, you automatically turn to a low vibration because of what's stuck inside. And then the last one is forgiveness of self, which is that's the one that you just don't know the amount of people that just won't do it. They feel like they're abandoning something, or they feel like it's really good for them to hammer on themselves because they're so. And some of it comes back to that old sin nature kind of thing they taught us when we were little kids. And it's not going to help us, right? The idea is that you accept forgiveness, and if you're accepting forgiveness from higher power or God or something like that, and you yourself are holding yourself in contempt, then in many ways you yourself are playing God in your life, and we always know where that comes from. Without both of us, it's going to be very ego-driven. So anyway, everybody that I've worked with that have gone through this and done a really good job at it is still around, still coming around the recovery circles, and doing well in life because of the forgiveness. That's why it's so important or whatever. Let's see what else we got. Anyway, we can roll through this pretty quick though. But the enemies of forgiveness, right? And the biggest one, pride, pride. Shame and guilt about your own behavior or others. Don't forget the persecution part. Guilt of the family members who would just, maybe they ask you to do something, or they're talking about you at the Christmas party and all that kind of stuff. That hurts deeply. Most people want to say, it's no big deal. They feel like words can't hurt you and stuff like that. Well, I don't know. I beg to differ. I think some of the hurts can dig deep, especially if somebody that we care about or love, or thought loved us, the betrayal. Bitterness, wrath, anger, victim complainers, and slander and malice, right? That's so easy to catch. We know that, right? So, anyway, forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is enhancing self-care or loving oneself. I'm going back to the original. We were taught that we are flawed individuals. So it's very difficult to love yourself if you have this flawed individual mindset, especially in the emotions. And that's what I'm getting at. This is where unity and our type of thinking has gotten me to the point to where I no longer agree with any of that. In other words, it's going to be a hindrance that's going to keep my vibration at a low vibration. And it's going to hinder all those things I talked about, our self-esteem and the ability to grow, the ability to pass along what I have to others, and also the ability to connect with spirit. And that's the whole thing, is that I really don't believe God looks at us as some kind of flawed individual. Not anymore, and part of that is why I am at Unity now, is because we really don't practice exactly that here. And I'm allowed to be human and accept myself in humanity, my humanity. And anyway, I guess where I'm really getting at is that this has given me an opportunity. I never saw this coming, as far as having a happy relationship with the higher power, with God. I always thought it was going to be a very fearful relationship, and one with I am afraid to, say it this way, hop from one foot to the other to try and be accepted, and every day it's a new hopping from one foot to the other. And it doesn't really work. And it's not anything that's conducive to any sort of. I have some opinions on that. Maybe that'll be a lesson for another day. But I think this is so important, and that most people just don't get it. We are right in who we hate. We are right. And I mean, look, the first church I was part of when I was 19 and 20 years old, we really thought that we were the only ones. We got to do it this way. And everybody else is, oh, that is an unforgiving heart. In other words, we're passing judgment, and then we're playing God in the situation. So being part of the forgiveness, and this is one that I use all the time, to live within the spirit of forgiveness. That's pretty heavy, and it includes all four of those aspects. Forgiveness to you, forgiveness from you, God, to God, from God, and then forgiveness to myself. It's a pretty intense and multi-complex equation to do it all the way around. And that's pretty much why we came up with the different entities or whatever, to leave no stone unturned when it came to my emotional progress and my spiritual growth. Anyway, I'm glad to put this on here because I can probably quote this with others and show them, where I don't have to explain it anymore. I can just say, hey, go look at the YouTube thing on Unity. So that's pretty much where it's at. There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more methods, and I don't want to use the word tricks, but I think you know what I'm saying. There are some things that you can do that I didn't really cover today. It's very important, and it is the most important thing in my recovery, and it's gotten to a point to where it has led me to higher and better things, and an esteem that is both appealing to me and God. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.